Introduction: The Ghost in the Room. In the annals of Cold War espionage, few stories are as bizarre, chilling, and enigmatic as that of Yuri Nosenko, the man the CIA didn't know whether to believe or break. Was he a legitimate KGB defector with explosive secrets, or a planted Soviet mole sent to destroy U.S. counterintelligence from within? For 3 years, he was held in solitary confinement by the CIA, locked in a windowless cell without due process, and subjected to intense psychological torment. And yet, in the end, the agency reversed its position, quietly releasing and even employing the man they once considered a hostile agent. But the question still hangs in the air decades later. Was Yuri Nosenko truly innocent, or did the CIA unwittingly unleash a double agent into American society? Chapter 1: The Man Who Walked In. It was February 1964 when Yuri Ivanovich Nosenko approached a CIA officer in Geneva, Switzerland. He had defected before, briefly in 1962, claiming he wanted asylum in exchange for information. At that time, his request was denied. He returned to the Soviet Union, and the CIA had all but written him off. But now, in the thick of Cold War tensions and just a few months after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, Nosenko returned. This time, with far more alarming claims. Nosenko said he had access to high-level KGB files. Most sensationally, he insisted that the KGB had no ties to Lee Harvey Oswald, the man accused of killing Kennedy. According to Nosenko, the Soviets had investigated Oswald when he defected to the USSR in 1959, and quickly determined he was unstable and untrustworthy. He claimed they dismissed him as an intelligence asset and had no further interest in him. This was not what the CIA expected or wanted to hear. Chapter 2: The Problem with the Truth. To understand the full magnitude of Nosenko's claims, it's important to consider the context. Just months earlier, a high-ranking KGB officer named Anatoly Golitsyn had also defected to the West. Golitsyn's information had already sent shockwaves through the intelligence community. He warned that the Soviets were planning to flood the West with false defectors, disinformation agents posing as genuine whistleblowers. And Golitsyn had specifically claimed that if another KGB agent appeared claiming to contradict him, that man was almost certainly a plant. So when Nosenko arrived, contradicting Golitsyn on several key points, including the Oswald connection, alarm bells went off at CIA headquarters. Some CIA officials, particularly James Jesus Angleton, the agency's infamous counterintelligence chief, believed they were witnessing a classic case of strategic deception. If Nosenko's statements were true, it would absolve the Soviets of any involvement in the Kennedy assassination. If they were false, it might mean a Soviet plot had succeeded beyond anyone's imagination. Which was more dangerous, ignoring a genuine defector or trusting a well-trained enemy agent? Chapter 3: Descent into Darkness. Unable to verify Nosenko's claims and increasingly paranoid about Soviet infiltration, the CIA made a fateful decision. In 1964, shortly after bringing him to the United States, the agency placed him under what can only be described as extrajudicial imprisonment. For over 3 years, Yuri Nosenko was held in solitary confinement in a specially built facility. He was denied legal counsel, contact with the outside world, and even basic comforts. The windowless cell measured just 10 by 10 feet. He was given minimal rations. Harsh lights remained on day and night. Clocks were removed to distort his sense of time. He was subjected to grueling interrogations and psychological manipulation. There were reports of sleep deprivation, constant surveillance, and enforced isolation intended to break his mind. The CIA justified this on the grounds of national security. They said they had to be absolutely certain Nosenko wasn't lying, but the methods used bordered on, if not fully crossed into, torture. To his interrogators, Nosenko was inconsistent. His story changed. Some details didn't line up. He failed multiple polygraph tests, but defenders later argued that this was hardly surprising, given the trauma and pressure he was under. Nosenko, they said, was a man terrified for his life, confused and suffering, not deceiving. Still, the agency was not convinced. The harsh treatment continued. Chapter 4. The Turning Tide. By 1967, something changed. Perhaps it was the lack of concrete evidence against him. Perhaps it was the moral weight of holding a man indefinitely without charges. Or maybe it was a realization within the CIA that it had been chasing shadows, consumed by its own paranoia. Whatever the cause, the agency reversed its stance. In 1969, after 5 years of suspicion and isolation, including 3 in solitary confinement, Yuri Nosenko was quietly released. Not only was he declared a bona fide defector, but he was also given a job within the CIA. He worked as a consultant on Soviet intelligence for years, lived under a false identity, and was provided a pension. The very same agency that had once branded him a threat now accepted him as one of their own. But the shadows of doubt never fully lifted. Chapter 5. A Nation Haunted. Yuri Nosenko lived the remainder of his life in relative obscurity, passing away in 2008. Despite the official narrative clearing his name, debates about his true allegiance have never ended. Some former CIA officials, like Tenant H. Bagley, remain convinced he was a KGB plant. Bagley even wrote a book arguing that Nosenko's entire defection was a staged deception. Others believe he was an honest man caught in the crossfire of Cold War suspicion, a victim of the very system he sought to escape. The case remains one of the most enduring mysteries in intelligence history. Unlike many espionage stories, this one has no clear resolution, no smoking gun. Just a trail of ruined trust, unanswered questions, and a man who suffered deeply for stepping into the shadows. Tone analysis. The tone of this article is serious, investigative, and suspenseful, with a clear sense of underlying tension and ambiguity. It maintains a journalistic and documentary-style narrative, combining factual exposition with psychological insight. There's a haunting, slow-burn feel to the progression, appropriate for the subject matter. A story built on secrecy, doubt, and psychological warfare. The closing tone is reflective, unresolved, and invites readers to think critically rather than accept a definitive conclusion.